Hello, my audience. I'm Jake Allen Graham. I'm reviewing Fast 5 from 2011. The fifth installment was the... it's technically... what's confusing about me, this is technically the sixth Fast and the Furious movie, even though it's titled the fifth one. I guess Tokyo Drift doesn't really count as a Fast and Furious movie, but more as a spin-off, like Hobbs and Shaw movie. Which is strange to me. I just realized that today when I was looking it up, okay? I come to realize, it kind of dawned on me, Fast 5 is not technically the fifth Fast and Furious movie. It's actually the sixth installment in the franchise, but for some reason they called it 5 and just ignore Tokyo Drift's installment. Seems to be. But yet they have a few characters returning from Tokyo Drift to reprise their role as their characters in Fast 5 that may play a small role, an important role though, with the plot of the movie. It's like, it's kind of confusing. Yeah, Fast 5 is a confused mess, but it's a fun confused mess that takes itself incredibly seriously, like you think it's Dark Knight. But that's kind of the fun about the mess of Fast 5. It's incredibly serious with how it takes the characters. Like it thinks it's the Nolan trilogy to the Dark Knight. Like it thinks it should be taken seriously, but it's not aware that it's just a dumb action flick. The makers of the movie feels like they're not aware that he just made another generic dumb action flick over the top. Dumb action flick, you know? Which... well, I do like Fast 5. It's not my favorite in the Fast and the Furious franchise saga. It's actually, I think it's one of the weaker it's one of the weaker installments to me, was the Fast saga. Then there's like 10 of them, or 11 of them if you count Tokyo Drift, which I do. So 11 of them. There's Fast and the Furious, 11 Fast and Furious movies in, if you do count Tokyo Drift. Which I do, but, that's just me. I thought that should count. So 11 Fast and the Furious movies, plus Hobbs and Shaw spin-off. That takes place in the same universe. Haven't seen that. It looks like a silly, dumb time of a fun movie. So I might want to stream that and check that out sometime about the movie Hobbs and Shaw, but I'm talking about this now, so I don't want to get sidetracked, okay? So I give Fast and Furious 5, called Fast 5, a 8 out of 10. It's a good, enjoyable movie of a popcorn flick. It's a story, the story has way too many characters, very convoluted, complex story that has a bunch of elements going on. It has a bunch of new characters and old characters recurring to the Fast franchise. And one new character is played by Rock, Dwayne Johnson. His name is Sharp, and he's a fun character. He's a cop, and he's a fun, he's basically just playing The Rock, I feel like. Like, if Rock ever got a chance to be a cop, he would basically be this living embodiment of muscle. And because Hobbs is basically, the character is basically all muscle. And it was I thought it was kind of strange. This movie just goes, this movie has like a lot of action and a lot of fun explosions and cool looking action. And I like the corny, stupid characters that these movies follow along. And you've turned pretty much into a comic book movie at this point in the franchise, with the fifth installment. they made the Fast and the Furious movie pretty much into a comic book, modern comic book, into make a comic book movie pretty much. It feels like at this point. The Fast Five is where it starts to feel like a comic book movie to me. The franchise, like just because it just goes nuts with everything. It just gets nuts. It was 5, and gets more crazy after 5 and the 5th installment. The 5th installment is really the turning point of the Fast and Furious franchise, where it starts to feel more like a comic book movie and less like a generic blockbuster popcorn film. Like, because everything with Fast 5 and everything after Fast 5 just goes nuts with the writing and the action. So, I enjoy Fast 5 for what it is. Over-the-top, campy, silly nonsense movie that takes itself way too seriously with the characters, taking itself way too seriously in this movie. And I enjoyed this movie as a great guilty pleasure popcorn flick. I give it an 8 out of 10, Fast 5 from 2011. It's not a bad watch, I thought. I give it an 8 out of 10. I recommend this movie and say go stream it and watch it. It's pretty fun of a movie to watch. Fast 5 from 2011. The 11th installment in the Fast and the Furious franchise, if you count Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift, which I do at this point. And this is the 6th installment if you count Tokyo Drift, what I do. So even though it's called Fast 5, which I find a confusing title. However, you mostly have to understand this. The only downside I think in this movie with Fast 5 is that the story is just contained with a story of the only thing it's really do is like you kind of have to watch. You know how like I felt like the previous one before Fast 5 called the 4th installment before this one, the previous one called that's basically that came out in 2009, I think. It thinks it's the same title, but was out, but it doesn't have any creative title. It's the 4th installment title. It's just called Fast and the Furious, not to be confused with the first title called The Fast and the Furious from 21. But this Fast 5 picks up pretty much right after, right where the first, like right where the end of the 4th one previous to this, the one previous, the Fast and Furious movie before this movie takes place pretty much right after that one, at the end of that one, and you know, I feel like there might be there's a bunch of stuff going on in the movie that's getting resolved in the 5th one that kind of left you hanging in the past one, where Dominic Toretto is on a vendetta because his girl is murdered. But then that gets retconned, the events gets changed and retconned in the 6th installment after this one, the Fast 5 one. So yeah, the only problem I have with this movie is that I don't think there's any story in this movie, the Fast 5 movie. There's like little to no story. Actually, the story's more a window dressing. But there's plenty of action and explosion and death and stuff that's not that deep. And it has plenty of other stuff that's dumb and fun to watch that's not that deep, okay? Fast and Furious 5 has that much good entertainment. I give it an 8 out of 10. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this review, my audience. I appreciate you watching this through. Okay, goodbye. Hit the subscribe button to my content and hit the thumbs up under my video, please. Goodbye.